This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter W. Welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, May the 12th, 1986, the famous Monday Night Miracle hockey game that happened. Here's me trying to set it up. So it is between the Calgary Flames and the St. Louis Blues. In the conference finals, the winner goes to the Stanley Cup Finals to face Montreal, who snapped the Rangers off winning the previous day 3-1. So since Montreal won in 5, they were waiting for the winner. Would it be an all-Canadian final, or would it be Montreal-St. Louis and maybe the revenge of Doug Wickenheiser? Anyway, so the 1986 NHL playoffs seemed to be Edmonton against the rest of the league, because Edmonton were the two-time defending champs and they were on fire. They were looking good. But for some strange reason, Calgary gave them a run for their money in the conference finals. So on the division finals, So anyway, it went down to 7 games, and of course Steve Smith, that was the series in which he shot the puck in his own net, giving the Flames the Stanley Cup semifinals berth. Calgary was in 7th heaven, if you will. They would face the St. Louis Blues, who actually were lucky because the Leafs, the pitiful Leafs, actually shocked the #1 seed Chicago Blackhawks in the divisional round, setting up a Blues-Leafs 7-game series which saw St. Louis win on home ice and getting to the Stanley Cup semifinals. So Montreal took care of the Rangers, as I said, and now it was time for St. Louis and Calgary to go through. Game 1 saw St. Louis win 3-2. Game 2, Calgary won 8-2. Then Calgary won 5-3 in St. Louis to take a 2-1 series lead, but St. Louis came back to win 5-2, but Calgary won on their own turf 4-2. So it was time to go to the dilapidated St. Louis Arena for this penultimate game. The two teams traded no goals in the first period. Second period, Dan Quinn put up 2 power play goals in 1 minute and 37 seconds, which was amazing, as the Flames were up 2-0. Clifford Ronning made it 2-1 with a power play goal of his own, so that was huge. And then, unfortunately for them, Jim Ploblinski and John Tonelli put up goals for the Flames, so it was 4-1. Flames cut it to 4-2 on a goal by Doug Wickenheiser. Remember the name. And then Joe Mullen, yes, he played for the Flames at one time, made it 5-2. The Flames were 13 minutes away from going to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then it happened. One of the most crazy finishes in history had happened. Brian Sutter, the venerable St. Louis Blues star and soon-to-be coach of the Blues, made it 5-3 at 8:08. And then at 15:49, with about 4 minutes left for Calgary to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, they faltered on 2 goals by one guy, Greg Puslowski. Puslowski scored to make it 5-4 and then 5-5. In the span of 10 minutes, Calgary had a chance to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals in 6 games over the Blues, and they failed miserably. So it's 5-5. So Mike Vernon and Rick Wamsley were headed for overtime. So, context on this. Rick Wamsley was the Montreal goalie who shone in the 80s, who somehow snatched the #1 spot for the Habs in 1982. However, he couldn't help Montreal out a lot more. And Steve Penny came out of freaking nowhere in the 84 playoffs to help the Habs get to the Stanley Cup semifinals before losing to the Islanders. But the fact of the matter is that the Habs were sold on Steve Penny and said, we don't need this Rick Wamsley anymore. So they traded Wamsley to St. Louis the day of the 1984 NHL draft for Shane Corson. Well, for the right to choose Shane Corson in the draft, which kind of worked out for them. So anyway, Walmsley was the starting goalie for St. Louis. Mike Liut was later sent to Hartford in the 1986 season, before the 86 season. And Liut almost helped Hartford take care of Montreal in the division finals before Claude Lemieux scored an overtime goal in Game 7. So Walmsley was in the Stanley Cup semifinals. And another former Hab was helping too, Doug Wickenheiser. Now, Montreal had the number 1 pick in the 1980 draft because they actually made a trade with Colorado when they had a team a couple years prior for 2 nobodies. So the Rockies gave up their number 1 draft pick. But they did not know that in 1980 they were going to be the worst team in the NHL, which meant Montreal, because of points, had the Colorado's pick. So it was a huge pick, and Montreal took Doug Wickenheiser from Regina. He was a good player, Western Hockey League player, and he showed great poise. The only problem was that it wasn't who they wanted. The fans wanted Dennis Savard because Dennis Savard played for the Montreal junior team, so he would know about the forums ice and all that. And he was a point scorer extraordinaire. What made it even more crazy was that Winnipeg, who had the number 2 pick, didn't go with Savard themselves. They went with Morris Lukowich, a defenseman. Kind of worked out. And Chicago snatched Dennis Savard 3rd overall, and he helped Chicago do well in the 1980s. So anyway, Doug Wickenheiser spent time in Montreal, but unfortunately the fans wouldn't let him forget that he was the guy who was supposed to help him out, and he was the number 1 overall pick. So Wickenheiser basically was running out of things and was traded to St. Louis. I don't know when, but anyway, he was a St. Louis Blue. And yes, Doug Wickenheiser was the uncle or the cousin of Haley Wickenheiser. Doug died of cancer, I think, in 1998 or something. Can't remember. But anyhow, so yeah, Doug Wickenheiser, in overtime, Calgary had a few chances, but then St. Louis shockingly came up, and Doug Wickenheiser, his 2nd goal of the playoffs and of the game, helped St. Louis pull off one of the biggest comebacks ever, taking down Calgary and forcing a Game 7 in the conference finals against the Calgary Flames at the Saddledome 2 days later. Unfortunately, though, the fairy tale ended as Calgary won 2-1. So St. Louis was close and all that. St. Louis would not get to the Stanley Cup Finals till 2019 when they won it all. So yeah, that's something to hang your hat on. A 5-2 deficit, and you think it's over and all that. Well, that reminds everyone of the whole Leafs choke job in 2013. But the Leafs had a 4-1 lead with like 10 minutes left and choked it and lost in overtime. So Calgary kind of did it too, but St. Louis took more time to make the comeback than Boston. So, it is what it is. But yeah, it was a nice way for the Blues to do something, but to lose Game 7 on the road just wasn't good, wasn't it? Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.